welcome to the channel for my Premier League predictions. Game week 3. Game week 2 was an exciting week. Nobody predicted Chelsea was going to score 6 goals against Wolves. But going to this game week 3, well, I'm looking out for spot on predictions. So if you're new here, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment your predictions at the comment section. So without wasting much of your time, let's get into the game week 3 predictions. Yes, starting with the first game in game week 3 is between Arsenal versus Brighton. Going to this game in game week 3 at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal hosting Brighton will be a very tough and interesting game. In game week 2, Arsenal managed to get a 2-0 victory past Aston Villa, and Brighton also in game week 2 also got a 2-1 victory against Manchester United, which was a very tough and interesting game. But going to this game in game week 3 too is a different ball game altogether, and I'm predicting a 2-1 victory for Arsenal. Arsenal 2, Brighton 1. Moving on to the next game in game week 3 is between Brentford versus Southampton. In game week 2, Brentford lost 2-0 against Liverpool, and Southampton also lost their game. But going to this game in game week 3 will be a very tough game for Southampton. Even though they just got promoted back into the Premier League, they still not find their feet, and going to this game against Brentford will be a very tough game for Southampton. So going to this game, I'm predicting a 3-1 victory for Brentford. Brentford 3, Southampton 1. Moving on to the next game at Goodison Park is between Everton and AFC Bournemouth. This will be a very interesting game. Everton in game week 2 lost 4-0 against Tottenham Hotspur. But going to this game against Bournemouth side, who also in game week 2 managed to get a 1-1 draw with Newcastle United. This will be an exciting crash, but going to this game, I'm predicting a 2-1 victory for Everton. Even though Bournemouth are in good form, but going to this game against Everton at Goodison Park, I'm predicting Everton to get a 2-1 victory over AFC Bournemouth. Oh yes, moving on to the next game is between Ipswich Town versus Fulham. This will be a very tough and interesting game. Even though Ipswich just got promoted into the Premier League, their first game they faced Liverpool, their second game was against Manchester City, which all these two teams were big opponents for Ipswich Town. But going to this game against Fulham, if Ipswich want to remain in the Premier League for the next season, this is a must win, or this is a game that Ipswich need a point from this game. So going to this game, I'm predicting a 1-1 draw. Ipswich Town 1, Fulham 1. Oh yes, moving on to the next game is between Leicester City versus Aston Villa. Leicester City in game week 2 lost their game, but going to this game in game week 3 against Aston Villa, who also in game week 2 lost 2-0 against Arsenal. This will be a very tough and interesting game. Going to this game at King Power Stadium, I'm predicting Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 2. Yes, moving on to the next game is between Nottingham Forest versus Wolves. Wolves in game week 2 lost their game at home, 6-2 against Chelsea, and Nottingham Forest also managed to get the win in their game in game week 2. So going to this game week 3 will be a very interesting and a tough game for Wolves. Going into this game, I'm predicting a 2-1 victory for Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest 2, Wolves 1. Yes, moving on to the next game is between West Ham United versus Manchester City. In game week 2, Manchester City got a 4-1 victory over Ipswich Town, and West Ham United also managed to get a 2-0 victory in game week 2. But going to this game in game week 3 at London Stadium, this will be a very tough and interesting game, and I'm predicting Erling Haaland to score a goal in this game. I'm predicting Manchester City 3, West Ham United 1. Yes, moving on to the next game is between Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. In game week 2, Chelsea managed to get a 6-2 victory over Wolves, which coming into this game in their last game in the Premier League, they lost 2-0 against Manchester City. So this was a redemption for Chelsea. But going to this game in Game Week 3, I think Chelsea need to build on this momentum. So going to this game, I'm predicting Chelsea 3, Crystal Palace 1. Oh yes, moving on to the next game in Game Week 3 is between Newcastle United versus Tottenham Hotspur. Going to this game at the St. James Park would be a very tough game. Even in Game Week 2, Newcastle was very lucky that they got a draw against AFC Bournemouth. Going to this game against Tottenham Hotspur team, who also in Game Week 2 got a 4-0 victory over Everton. This will be a very tough game for Newcastle United, but I'm predicting a 2-1 victory for Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur to Newcastle United 1. Yes, moving on to the game of the week in Game Week 3 is between Manchester United versus Liverpool. This will be a very tough and interesting game. Liverpool in their last 2 Premier League games won all the 2 games. 2-0 against Ipswich Town, 2-0 against Brentford. And going to this game against Manchester United at Old Trafford, United too coming into this game, their first game in the Premier League, they won 1-0 against Fulham and they lost 2-1 against Brighton. So this will be their 3rd game and this will be a tough game for Man United at Old Trafford. Going to this game, I'm predicting a 3-1 victory for Liverpool. Liverpool 3, Manchester United 1. Yes, so these are my predictions for Premier League Game Week 3. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like this video and comment your predictions at the comment section. Till we meet in another video. Bye bye for now.